Thank you for listening to Depictions Media Radio. Okay, so welcome back, everybody. And our next guest is going to be Larry Kaul. And Larry has a passion for being a solopreneur. He takes his projects by himself. He works on them by himself. He may invite some people in on the background to help out, but for the most part, all of his projects are bootstrapped and run by Larry. And it becomes a really interesting dynamic. And we're going to ask Larry about that dynamic of working as a solopreneur, working by yourself to achieve a product and a result for a customer. And if you go to Solopreneur Inc. and Larry has he has a talking group and supports and all sorts of other things to help you in your individual projects so that they develop and come clear to you. So let's welcome Larry to the show. So let's welcome Larry to the show. And Larry, what makes life so special to you as being a solopreneur?
Oh, wow. A big question to start, yeah. Michael. That's awesome. You really gave me something here.
Yeah.
I think I'm born to do this. I've got some history behind me in this too, which I really didn't think about and don't think about very much. But my great-grandfather came to the United States in 1871 from Germany, and he, as far as I know, never got a paycheck from anybody. And then my grandfather went into business with him, and also, as far as I know, never got a paycheck from anybody. And then my father went in business with them too, and then they started a different business. And as far as I know, never collected a paycheck. And I'm not saying I follow in everything my family does. It's actually kind of the opposite in a lot of ways. But fundamentally, I've never felt like it was possible to work for somebody else. So I want to fulfill my promise of what I want to be doing. I want to make my own decisions. I want to make enough money to live the lifestyle that I want to have, and I want to be able to focus on the things that I really care about. And sometimes even more important is just work with the people that I really want to be around, as opposed to having to make all kinds of compromises.
Yeah, you know what? That makes sense. I'm not exactly the solopreneur, but I'm definitely the entrepreneur. One of the reasons why I left the corporate world was I just didn't want to work for Mitsubishi, Sony, you name the big corporation. It's like, no, I want to do it my way, you know?
Yeah. The solopreneur part of it is a niche in the self-employed marketplace that I think gets misunderstood. So I'll clear that up, at least my opinion. Everybody sees it a little differently. But to me, a solopreneur is not an entrepreneur, a small business owner with training wheels on who may someday be successful, or a freelancer. A solopreneur to me is someone who does want that independence, and at the same time is doing it for some very particular personal reasons. So there's an underlying, sometimes purpose-oriented motivation. Sometimes it's based on an idea or a particular passion or area of interest that they have. Other times it has to do with their family life and building the kind of lifestyle that they want to have. And they're doing it where the product is coming out from inside of themselves. So there is no thought about, oh, I'm going to go raise money and scale it, give up some control in return for profit. It's just not the way that they're thinking. And unlike a lot of entrepreneurs, they're not really willing to do whatever it takes to make money and make as much money as possible. So the motivations are quite different. And then unlike a small business owner, they're not really looking to delegate, raise up above the business and lead a team and build a culture. That's a very, very different kind of person who wants to do that. And unlike a freelancer, they're not just out there looking for projects. They're looking to build a brand and a position in the marketplace. And there's a lot of ways to do that, which is very different from essentially looking for people who want to pay you to do work for them.
Right.
So there's a lot of subtle differences between these things. So the simplest way to understand it to me is, for a solopreneur, to me, it's about me. I'm the company, and I'm not giving up control of that to anybody for any amount of money. Well, maybe there's a certain amount, but probably not.
Well, that brings you to a question, because entrepreneurs I know usually have teams behind them. You see them up front, and then there's this team would that solopreneur have a team helping them do things behind the background?
So we have 5 stages of development in our what we call self-employment mastery system, which is a system designed only for solopreneurs and a very specific type of solopreneur. Those who want achievement and are willing to do things to get it. So they have a bit of a experience already in the marketplace and something of value that they're offering. So for people like this, when they're thinking about their company, there's these 5 steps or stages that you want to really master. So we call it mastery, self-employment mastery. Step 4 is we call it the solopreneur operating system. In other words, how do I scale this thing, or how do I not scale it? Depending on what you really want. I have a partner, so there's 2 of us involved in this. I have 1 VA, but we may expand that into more of a team, but we probably won't, because it won't really make me happy to have to deal with all of that. Now, somebody may make different choices, but the point is really that if you want to scale as a solopreneur, there's ways to do it. So you scale on the product side. You can scale in the way you deliver the service. You can scale in the way you do partnerships or even barters or joint ventures with other people, build joint products. There's a lot of ways to do it. And you do want to build a system underneath the company. So a solopreneur, I think, is misunderstood a lot of times because it's thought of as somebody who's trading fee for services and just has clients. And yes, it could be that, but that's not what it is definitionally.
So it doesn't. That would lead us back to the freelancer again, right? If they were just trading, going from one gig to the next gig, sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of the best way to explain the freelancer solopreneur difference, and I can do it with someone who's a client of ours in our program right now, where she's a phenomenal writer, better than most, and really has a very strong personality and a point of view, but she's been acting a lot of the times like a freelancer, even though her skills are greater. So one of the first things I did with her was work with her to create a signature method for a very specific audience. So we found a group of people that she really feels passionate about, that shares a lot of values and interests, which for her are thought leaders and influencer types, and looked at, what are the things they really need to be successful. And we came up together with 4 pillars of competence that they need to build. And then we named it as a system. Mm-hmm. So a signature system. And now we're talking about how to talk about that and how to connect with those people. So instead of going to them like she had been and saying, I can write books for you. I can write blog posts. I can write a newsletter. Mm-hmm. I can do this and this and this. She's saying, I've developed this signature system for a very specific type of person, like, I think you may be, that does this kind of a thing to get this result. And there's 4 pillars in it. And each one of these pillars is this, and here's what it is and why it's here. So we should talk about it and see, whatever. So there's a kind of a conversational method. I won't get into too much of that, but she's going to the market now with a point of view. And I don't think freelancers are doing that. They're going to the market and telling people what they do and can deliver to them, and then how much they charge for it.
Okay, that makes sense. And I completely understand that, because one of the things there is one begging for work, the other one saying, hey, this is my intake system. If you want to work with me, let's go through this process so that we find out what a result is going to be for you.
Yes, and having a point of view and packaging it into a system that is your own, as opposed to asking somebody what they need and what they want. You're going in and telling them, already. And then you're flexibly working through that, of course. You're not making a demand on them. And then the freelancer, I think, tends to either be too busy or not busy enough. So they're either begging for work or they're trying to manage too much work.
Yeah.
So there really is no system or infrastructure there in terms of how they're structuring what they're doing. Like I mentioned earlier, there needs to be one for solopreneurs.
Yeah. So how did Solopreneur Inc. evolve for you?
So in 2020, in the summer, I have another business. And it's a virtual company. I started about 8 years ago, and we got into low 7 figures. And it's been it was kind of a rocket ship when I started, and then it became, I've kind of been hanging on to the tail, trying to, stay above water with it for a few years as well. And I delegated a lot of responsibility in that business to somebody else. And I started looking around in the marketplace, and I thought, there's a lot of people out there who appear to be a lot happier than I am, and with their businesses. And I didn't know if it was, mindset issue or it was true. And I finally realized it is true. I was doing things in an older way that wasn't really, even the years where I made a ton of money, it still wasn't making me very happy. So I started making this switch. And then in September of 2020, I made a full pivot, and I said, I'm going in a new direction. We called the company Sales Sherpa, and that evolved to Revenue Climber. And it wasn't working, and I couldn't quite figure out why it wasn't working. And once we figured that out, we realized that there's this solopreneur category that is a very specific subset of the self-employment marketplace, and a type of solopreneur that's the right fit for me, and a natural inclination I have towards them, and they'll gravitate back towards me when I'm communicating clearly about that. And then we came up with the Solopreneur Inc. name. So it all just kind of fell in place through doing something I'm actually now teaching people to do, which is because it works. So I'm like, okay, that's going in, to the model. But it happened by accident. It wasn't really, it was just a lot of trial and error and experimentation that led to it.
Okay. So it's kind of like polishing the stone till it shines, huh?
Kind of or turning the turds over until you find gold underneath. I don't know, but it's Yeah, I love Winston Churchill's quote, failure or success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. And I think I got a lot of that. So that allowed me to go through a lot of this tough stuff. And that's one thing. And then the other is this thing about being uncomfortable is, I can tolerate not feeling okay for a long time. And I think it's table stakes, for people who become really successful because there's no way around the hard. This is not easy. There's no easy. People sell easy answers, quick answers. They're playing to that persuasion principle brain,
Yeah,
that wants
yeah,
the quick pill, and it doesn't exist. I
yeah,
mean, you
yeah,
can take it, but eventually you're going to end up in the mental hospital, with
mm,
DTs or something. So, it's not going to work.
yeah,
So I kind of tell people I like this is I'm not for everybody. If you don't want to do the work and feel uncomfortable, some of the time I'm probably the wrong person for you. So I'm gearing my conversations towards people who want mastery, that really feel like I'm good. I'm tired of this crap. I'm tired of feeling kind of underperforming. I'm tired of feeling stuck. I want something more for my life. I want to make this work. I want to make money, but I also want to be happy. Those are the people that I connect with. Now, there's other people serving a similar marketplace where their thing is all about helping people feel belonging or enjoyment or fulfillment. It's very different, and they should speak that way, and they'll find those people too.
yeah. Um, you said something about because you said you're happy, right? And that's different than feeling okay. Because you can be happy and still feel that little bit of discomfort because you're moving forward towards something, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's an excellent comment. And I love Ray Dalio, the hedge fund guy, and he's got a really good series on YouTube. And he talks about how his principles for life and business. And one of the things he said that really stuck with me was his ability when he was very young to realize that he had to fall down and hurt himself a lot to get anywhere. And then the thing that really got me, which I did not know or was practicing, was he started to enjoy it. And I thought, oh, okay, so if I can enjoy failing a lot, it won't be such a grind, which is where I was. So the way I used to live was the hustle culture grind.
Mm-hmm.
So I think hustle culture is misunderstood. You have to have willpower. You just have to have willpower. You just have to do the work and do hard stuff, but you don't have to suffer through it. You have to struggle through it. But you can struggle through something and not suffer through it. When you start accepting the condition of life, which is, if it's any good, it's not just going to be given to me. I'm going to have to stretch myself quite a bit, to get to it.
Yeah. So
And I didn't know that. I kind of learned that in the last couple of years, even though I'm old.
yeah. So how do you teach others those same lessons?
Well, I think that we've built in our system kind of a combination of things. So we have this idea of, you build your company from the inside out, finding out your unique power that's inside of yourself, and bring that out in the world. So the impact you make on other people, the thing you really love to do, the kind of work that you're best at, type of personality you have, purpose is in there as well. So you want to connect into all of those things. So that helps with some of this mindset stuff. And then we get into what we call the connection conversation method, where you're building the product with the market. So you don't compromise on the business or the what you're doing, but you are compromising on how you're doing it. So the offers, the product, the way you deliver it has got to match up with the market and what they really want and what they really need. So when you're doing that, it takes some of the sales pressure away. So I think that helps with some of those feelings. And then the next piece of it that's really important is we've built this sort of personal development system underneath everything we're doing. So that gets into a lot of what people know as law of attraction kind of stuff, a lot of meditative kind of work and things like that. And a lot of the people who tend to come to me are already very familiar with those types of things. They just haven't practiced them consistently enough, or they forget. Often I think they forget about it.
Yeah.
Right? They're not coming for that. That's helping. They're coming because they want to make more money and they want to be happier with their business. But they realize, and I realize as we're doing it, one of the elements is to learn how to master your own emotions, and get into the positive mindset and all of those kinds of things.
Yeah. I sat in on two of your Thursday talks, and I know it appears Thursday Pacific time, Thursday at 8 a.m. So I kind of got to get my hustle on, and if I'm going to get into the talk to make sure I got the deck cleared so I can be there for an hour, right? And I learned a couple things from it, and I'll be totally honest with you, because we do documentaries and stuff like that here, that as well as the podcasting, that hey, wait a second, if I keep my mind open, that things flow a little better, right? Right. So it's not like I hadn't heard it before. It's just somewhere along the line I forgot about it. So
exactly.
So your Thursday talks are like those little reminders that that help us out that way. But do you? In that group, I noticed there's like a lot of consultants and coaches in there. Is that a lot of who you work with?
Most of the people who kind of gravitate into the solopreneur world, I find, are professionals with business skills that they've built up. And those business skills can be delivered to support all kinds of different needs in the marketplace. So coaching and consulting and experts of various sorts kind of set up their own shop. And then the other side of it, I would say, are the personal development types. So they do a lot of work around helping the individual do something. And they're usually coming more from a coaching side. Although the business people can come from the coaching side as well. And then there's a lot of mergers sort of across these things. Okay. But I do find that is typically the kind of people who are showing up.
Okay. Because you don't claim to be a personal development train the trainer kind of person.
It's funny you say that, because, if people ask me, like, what is the one thing that changed your life the most? Because I'm a very different person than I was. I mean, I've really reinvented myself with this business. And that's what I'm showing people how to do, but I'm not talking about it that way, except right now, right?
Yeah.
But the one thing that changed everything the most was getting up in the morning and doing a personal development practice every day. I think more than anything, developing that daily habit routine really has made the biggest impact in my life.
Yeah.
More than anything else.
When you get up in the morning, do you do like a series of mantras or affirmations or something like that? And then.
So the way I explain to people is there's really three components of it that are important. How people do it, it makes no difference, as long as those principles are respected. And I can explain my method, but anyone can pick any method. It doesn't matter. But what matters is that there's a mind-body connection established every day. So that's one. The second thing is there needs to be a clear understanding of what you want and why you want it. And you have to be able to visualize that somehow. Either read it or picture it or something. And then the third thing is you need a revitalization practice, so you don't drift into negative, conditioned thought loop and feeling loop patterns in your head. because it gets tough. And then they just kind of go away for 5 hours, and they're sort of working, but they're not really working. They're just like scrolling on social media or screwing around or checking their email, or because they're stuck in this like thought loop pattern. So you want to have a revitalization practice. So I'm kind of showing people like, those are the three things, and they need to do this particular thing to get you in the right place. So you can be successful and do the stuff you said you wanted to do, in the first place, which is you can do it. It's just hard to continue to do the things you want to be doing. So that's what this is all designed. Now, how people do that, I think it's very different from person to person.
Okay. So we stick to those three pillars. In that we'll start to find things open up for us.
Wait, I'm sorry. Say that again.
We stick to those three pillars, like it clears our mind, and we have a better vision.
Yes, it's very interesting what happens. So the mind body connection, in my experience, allowed me to see reality. So I was able to start to see myself more clearly, too clearly some days. I didn't like what I saw, but I kept looking. I didn't look away. And what was happening with people around me. So you start seeing your market more clearly. So there's a reality that emerges, and there's less judgment, which is really important. Judgment's the biggest problem. When you're judging yourself, you're judging other people and judging situations all the time, you really can't think clearly, and you never know what's going on. Most people are judging everything all the time, and they don't even realize it. So when that clears up, then what happens is I found opportunities start showing up. So these things were there all along. It's just now I'm in a mindset. Now I'm not all the time, obviously. I'm as screwed up as everybody else. But I've got these more moments, like many moments, where I'm very, very clear. And when I'm all screwed up and I'm stuck in this conditioned thinking, I look at myself and I say, you're stuck in conditioned thinking right now. And then I decide, like, I try to get out of it. So I get out of it faster.
Right.
Than I used to. And then I'm clear. And then the second part, which is the daily ritual gets me into these things that I want. So I'm aware of these 5 things in my life that I really want and what they're like. And then I can say, is what I'm doing now going to move me closer to those things or further away from them?
Okay.
So that gives you more clarity.
Right.
And then what happens is when you know that, people show up and they help you because they're just there, and you're able to connect with them because you know exactly what you want, and it gets communicated. So I don't have to strive and try as hard. I work really hard. I have a lot of self-discipline, which is a muscle that anybody can build, but I don't do the hustle stuff like I used to.
Right.
Where it was like, I'm going to power through, I'm going to get up early and I'm going to do these 50 million things and I'm going to listen to these 5 podcasts and I'm going to reach out to these 20 people. And then by Friday, I was like exhausted. And that was a big shift for me. And that came from that morning mind-body connection kind of practice.
Cool. So it's more energizing than did some of those other. I used to watch the sales coaches, right? And then I get frustrated because it's like it wasn't working, and it's like, what am I doing wrong, and what's wrong with me? It wasn't anything was wrong with me. It's just that something was different, and their system wasn't right for me. So yeah. And that was something that I noticed when I sat in on 2 of your sessions. It was like, oh, hey, this makes more sense than what this other guy was saying.
Well, and there's a lot of people who would come to one of my sessions and say, this guy makes no sense. So it's sort of like, I'm attracting and repelling at the same time. And this is kind of what I'm telling people too, is you're going to be a lot happier and you're going to feel a lot stress and strain if you surround yourself with people you like to be around and that you think you can help, as opposed to just trying to attract customers.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, we talked a lot about your process, how you develop your process, and everything like that. Is there a result that you want for the people that work with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that happiness is personally defined and income satisfaction is personally defined. What I like to see people do is to identify the 5 things in their life they really want the most, and then figure out how much money they're going to need to get there. And then realistically, what's the plan that has to be put in place to oversubscribe their offering so they have more customers that want to work with them than they have available spaces, and they can charge a premium price for their offering, and they become an insider expert in their chosen marketplace, in their chosen niche marketplace. So I think when you get to that point, then you're really controlling your destiny because you've mastered self-employment. So to me, that's what I want everybody to get to. Now, how that looks and gets defined is going to vary quite a bit. So I'm not the guy who's saying, do this thing, you're going to make $12 million and have a jet airplane. So I have no pictures of me standing in front of a helicopter, that I own, or some fancy boat. So it's like, you decide what you want. You want a fancy boat? Well, you're going to have to do certain things to get that.
Yeah. I'm going to describe something for the folks listening for a second. It's like, Larry is sitting in at a desk, and he's got bookcases around him. It's like, because as I remember, you do have a love for books. But that's what's around you, because that's what you want around you. It isn't like the fancy penthouse screen or something like that. And this is also your office. It isn't that virtual Zoom office thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, people think it's a fake background, but that's actually my chair, and those are real books. The book comment's actually important because it's not about the books. It's about you finding what you really want to be doing. And there's really 10 different options, and you need to know the option that's the right one for you. It's very important, or you build a business you don't want to work in.
yeah.
Even if you're successful, you don't even want to work in it, or it's hard to ever become successful because you don't really like it, because it's not giving you what you want. I like to learn new things, repackage them into something that's useful, and spark insight and understanding in other people. And that's it. That's all I want to do. If I could do that all day long, I'd be perfectly happy. So I'm setting up a business that allows me to do that more of the time. Now, other people would like to advise people. Some people want to support people. Some people want to lead people. Some want to create things. Some want to be scientists and discover new ways of doing things and new ideas. And if you don't know what that thing is, then you're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
And I need to give credit to this to Jonathan Fields, who wrote a book called Sparketypes, and has a tremendous assessment in that book, which I took, and it gave me instant insight into this. And I use that with everybody that we work with as part of kind of doing what we call the personal archetypal blueprint, where you figure out kind of like where your real power is. And part of that comes from knowing what that Sparketype is, which is the thing that lights you up at work and in your life, as well. For me, it's learning stuff and telling other people about it.
Yeah. Cool.
Now, for my partner, it's discovering new ways of doing things and building systems, creating things. That's why we're partners. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And that's it. two of us.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And that when you find something that meshes together like that, and you teach people how to make sure that they can mesh into, if that's what they want, that they can mesh into things, right?
Well, the step four for us of the solopreneur operating system could include finding a partner
Hmm.
or barter partners, even, which I've done before too, because I've done a lot of these virtual companies. So I've been able to scale without employees. Not here, so I'm not interested in doing this again here. But in my other company, which still exists and somebody is running it, we did scale that virtually. And there is a way to do that. And there's some concepts in business. I'll throw one out. Gino Wickman, who wrote a book called Traction and created something called EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, talks about visionaries and integrators. So if you're a visionary and you're creating a business and trying to make it work, often it's very hard for people like that to get the boat out of the harbor. And until they find a COO, the company never takes off. So this is a little off the solopreneur ranch, but the concept's relevant. So you need an integrator, which is someone who can take all your vision, all your ideas, and simplify it and turn it into an operational, scalable system and infrastructure. And visionaries usually can't do that.
Right.
So if you're a solopreneur and you're spinning in circles all the time and you can't get anywhere, it's hard to know exactly why immediately, but first thing we would figure out is why. Like, why aren't you getting anywhere? It could be that let's go back to the Sparketype, that your Sparketype leads it, and what's called your anti-Sparketype, the thing you really don't want to do, leads you down some bad places where you're incredibly unproductive because you're indulging it. So for me, I want to go learn things and spark insight in other people. Well, what if the business needs me to methodically get leads and sales? Well, it doesn't fit. So there's times where I need to do that, or at least I need to be setting up systems to be able to do that without it being too painful, because it's methodical and can be boring, and I don't want to do it. So I got to find creative ways to do it. But you can fix these problems when you understand yourself. For me personally, there's a point where if I didn't have an ambition for the company and just wanted it to be me and 5 clients or something, I wouldn't want a partner. I need this partner because we need a scalable system to deliver information. And I can't build that. I have all the ideas, I can explain them, I can organize them, I can teach other people how to do them, but to deliver that in a methodical way, I can't build that kind of an infrastructure. So that's why I need a partner to be able to do that.
Okay.
So some people may be out there and they're kind of like, why can I never get over 15 grand a month? Ever. And I should be, and I'm really good at what I do, and I think it's because I'm too busy. Well, it may not be why. There may be another reason.
Yeah. So again, open yourself up to all the avenues of possibility.
Well, I think it's first opening yourself up, and then I think second, it's mastering self-employment.
Yeah.
So this is a very complicated game, and it's a moving chessboard, and it's floating up and down. It's very complicated, and mastering the pieces of it for people, I think, who want to do that or willing to do that is partly solving a lot of these it ends up solving a lot of these problems. So you got to open yourself up to be able to do that, but then you still have to get the information and know what to do with it.
Right. So, okay. So let's go through this again. You said there was 4 pillars, right? To the solarpreneurship.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We covered 4. That's what it was.
So the first pillar, build the company from the inside out. Second, build the product with the market. So it's like Steve Jobs and Henry Ford kind of knew their market. They were expert in it. They were channeling a very specific type of energy. Henry Ford, average person; Steve Jobs, creation and product. And they knew exactly what people wanted and needed. So do that. Your market will tell you what product to build. Third, make sure that you have the mindset that allows you to be expansive, to get into the universe, all this kind of stuff. And then fourth, build these systems where you're present in your market. So you become an insider and an expert inside your market, and people know you, the influencers, the partners, and the people who work with you. And there's ways to do that. There's systems to do that. And then this idea of systems. So building essentially a structure, for the business that allows you to spend more time doing what you really want to be doing.
Yeah. So what would the fifth pillar be?
I thought I had 5 there.
Hmm?
Thought I had. Did I have 4 or 5 there?
I thought we were 4. Oh well. Anyway.
So
I think we covered most of it.
Yeah, I mean, the goal is basically you want to be an insider in your market, and you want to oversubscribe your offering so you can pick the clients that you want and charge what you want to charge. That's the ultimate goal to me, for a solopreneur business. So you make enough income to fund the lifestyle you desire, but you're not sacrificing happiness in return for doing that.
Right. So that's that in the end is the bottom line. So, anyway, as I'm looking at the clock here, I'm realizing that we're starting to run out of time again.
Every time you and I talk, Michael, it goes on and on.
Yeah, I know.
We always have a lot to talk about.
We're eventually going to become like close friends over Zoom or something, right?
That's right.
So, best ways to get a hold of you and work with you.
The best way I would suggest to people connect is just go come to our one of our Thursday events, 11 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Central U.S., 3 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time, 8 o'clock Pacific. And to get to that, you just want to go to Solo, SOLO, Inc.com. That's one way. Another is connect with me on LinkedIn and message me there. I'm in LinkedIn a lot.
Yeah.
So that's one of our core kind of areas of connecting with people.
All right. Well, thank you for your time today, and thank you everybody for listening. If you're even thinking about becoming a solopreneur, check Larry out, even just for the briefest second, and you'll discover that he's a genius and he's got something going on there. So.
I don't know about that. Thanks, Michael. I really appreciate the show.
Yeah. Well, at least you provide the right energy for people and to incubate themselves and move forward, right? So.
Great.
Yeah. All right. Thanks again, Larry, and thanks again, everybody, for listening. This show has been produced by Depictions Media. Please contact us at depictions.media for more information.